Have they ever told you to write 200 to 300k word story and you were like, Jesus Christ, you can't write it? I was there when I started as a newbie, but don't worry, that's what my channel is for. This video is gonna dismantle everything about writing long stories. In fact, you see that client that said that, or that your story you're planning to write up to 300k words, after this video you find out that you could even write it up to 500k words. Yes, I will dismantle how to write long novels like you go long past Aswani market. Guys, I made a poll in my community and I was like, what do you want me to talk about? They were like, majority of them talked about or picked the option that I should make a video on tips to writing or tips in writing long stories up to 200 to 300k word. So guys, I made my research and I definitely want to talk about that. Alright, right now I will dismantle everything about writing long stories. I always tell people that when you come to my YouTube channel, don't come just you want to watch videos. Come here because you want to learn and get a stationery, get a jotter, because you go write tire. Now want to get started, you're going to be writing everything I'll be saying here right now because it's good for you to have them in your notes. So as you're writing, you check them out and you're keeping yourself on track. All right, now let's get started. I wrote them on my phone so all of us can stay updated. All right, now writing a longer story can be fulfilling but challenging, but I'm going to talk about how to start. Okay, now when you want to start a story, you write your outline, right? First of all, you start with your outline. Some people tell you write your outline to be detailed, write it very well, do this, do that. They are right. Okay, you need an outline for a story before you start any story, and your outline should contain your exposition, your inciting incidents, your climax, your falling action, and your denouement. I don't know if I listed very well. Rising action, falling action, denouement, or resolution. You can also come about plot twists, sub characters, subplots, characterizations. All these things should be in your outline. But most times when you write an outline of probably 1 to 2k words, me personally, my outlines are always up to 2 to 3k words. Do you get? Depending on how the length of the story you want to write is. If you're looking at writing a long story, then your outline needs to be very, very detailed. The first thing is your outline. Do you get? Don't joke with your outline. It's not something you're rushing. I write my outlines for days. I can stay 7 days. I'm writing just an outline because I want the story to be a banger. So you have to sleep on your outline over and over again. Start with a draft. Your first draft, is it making sense to you? Is this something you want to push through? If it's not, there's always room for correction. You correct it again. Is the new one that you've corrected making sense to you? If it's not, scrap it out. Correct, make another one. So you have every right to keep updating your outline till it suits your taste. Do you get? Make sure your outline is very detailed. All right. Tip number 2: develop a strong idea. This tip, I told you after this video, you will not just write only 300k words. You go pass them. You will pass 300k words, and someone will ask you, "This is your story. Once you end this story, you'll be like, I've not even started." You tell the person you have not even started because ideas it choke. This video will be a life changer for you. For those people that will be like, "Oh, I can't write more than 550k words, so Jesus Christ, hey, 50k words is too much. I'm going to run out of ideas. 100k words is the least I can go. I don't want to write rubbish." Come on, shut up. If after this video you will pass 100k words, ideas go see the flow. Do you understand me? Now, tip number 2, I said Develop a strong idea. Why you as if your story is, you can't write long stories because you rushed your outline. Yeah, you rushed your outline. If you sit down and create a strong story idea, I'll explain what I mean. A strong story idea. Start with a clear concept or story idea for your book. This could be a theme, a character, a setting, or a plot point that you find intriguing and want to explore further. You might be sleeping and obviously this idea just come into your mind. You quickly rush and write it down. Me, the way I normally come up with ideas is mostly at night or early hours of the morning. Early hours of the morning. I wake up, and most times like this, when you finish watching some movies, you start getting inspirations. Those inspirations that are coming to your mind are very good inspirations. Please just run and write it on your Google Docs, because you can forget it easily. After watching a movie, find out that you start visualizing some inspirations coming your way. Do not overlook it. Write them down. By so doing, when you write them down, you can now go to your checklist on your Google Docs and be like, oh, I have ideas to start off my story. Okay, let me start with this idea first. I love this idea and I want to push through with it. Okay, I want to write a vampire story. Okay, let me go and watch one or two movies about vampires, so I'll know how to write it. Okay, let me see what I can do, how the story is going to pan out. You just talk to yourself and talk to people. Research also. Whatever idea you have, everybody has a unique idea. Don't copy anybody. Be unique in your own way. Have a strong story idea that you love. The key to writing long stories, you have to first of all love your story. Make your author's dream come true. Love your story. Don't mind what the people are saying. Hey, vampire stories are no longer raining. Please don't write it. Don't mind what people are saying. Just write your story. Once you love it and you want to carry on with it, or you want to push through with it, then write it regardless of what people are telling you. Alright? Don't forget this point I'm listing. Point number 3. Develop your characters. Develop your characters. I'm going to explain this in details, okay? Number 1, you need to flesh out your characters with background, motivations, and personalities. Do you get? Strong, well-developed characters can drive your story forward and engage your readers. Let me explain what I mean. When you want to start your story, the things your readers will be looking at are your characters. If they don't fall in love with your character, they will leave your story and they will stop reading it. Do you get? So you have to give a good character development. Do you get? Your character is a weak character. Do you get? Come up with other motivations. They have other hurdles they have to go through, other conflicts, internal and external, they have to go through. Tons and tons and tons. Read my words. I did not say one conflict. Tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of conflicts that one particular character or your protagonist have to go through. By so doing, when they finish going through one conflict, they're trying to come out and say, finally I can take my breath. I just finished overcoming this conflict. Another one should come in. By so doing, the story is lengthening. The story is becoming longer. They're just trying to come out of this conflict. Your readers are already feeling for them. Okay, one down. Finally, this character has overcome this monster, or overcome this challenge. The greater one should be at the back waiting for them, unknowingly to your readers and unknowingly to the character itself. Finally, I finally got the scholarship. Make them pass through hurdles to pay their school fees. Do you get me? So be literally wicked when you're writing stories, especially stories that you want to put on platforms, because if it's not emotional, if you pity your readers, if you pity your characters, they will leave your book. Do you get? That is why when you're watching a movie, those Nigerian movies used to watch about Mercy Johnson, those ones she normally cries. We normally stick to the end. We are emotional about her. So that's it. Emotional. Alright, the next thing on my list is, let me check my list. I've talked about flesh out your characters with backgrounds. Give them a background. They did not just become rich. So if you're starting your chapter 1 with their mansion, Give us a backstory. That's another way you can lengthen that story. So don't tell me, Coach Victor, I don't know how to lengthen my story. Come on, give us a back character. For every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Everybody did not just become rich one night. There's a story to tell. So give us those backstories to lengthen your story. Alright? Now, another thing again you should do is number 4, build your world. Build your world. How do you do this? If your story is set in a fictional world or in a specific time period, take the time to develop the world building aspects of your story. This can be creating maps, histories, cultures, and languages to make your world feel immersive and believable. For example, you cannot tell me you want to write a horror story, you want to write a vampire story, and you're just going there to start it. You have to first of all watch movies, take note of how the environment is. There's a vampire, there's how the world of vampires are, there's how the world of werewolves are, there's how the world of a billionaire romance novel is being portrayed. Take note of it. Horror movies are creepy, monstrous, gruesome. They scare the living daylight out of you. There's some spooky lights in the horror movies. Take note of all these settings. Do you get? So you can be believable. Somebody will not just be reading your horror movie and be like, I beg, this writer doesn't even know what is a horror movie or a horror story. He's just writing. Do you get? Make it believable. Build your world. Build the world of your story, the settings of your story. Make it believable. Because if it's believable, then your story will will be catchy to stay on and read on. Do you get? So that's what you should be incorporating. All right. Another thing you should do. I thought it's gonna be a long video. If you're getting value to those points, please hit on the red subscribe button and turn on post notification, because you cannot see any YouTuber that will give you all these things for free, that will cool down and tell you all these points like a family. So if you have not joined the family, you're making a whole lot of big mistake. Alright, number 5, tips in writing long stories, 200k to 300k words plus. Number 5, just add conflict. Just add conflict. Do you know what is a conflict? I don't know this thing called conflict. You've been hearing it, you don't really understand it. For example, now, when I mean just add conflict, in life, every human being in life has a goal. 2024 has come. Many people have written their goals. You as a writer writing a story, make that your character unable to achieve the goals he has written down by adding conflict. The character must have written, you that is watching this video, I believe in 2024 January you have written up to 20 goals. Make sure your character don't achieve those 20 goals. Bring conflicts, bring tensions, bring things that will stop them, obstacles from achieving those 20 goals. If they achieve the first one, continue giving them conflict so that the story can lengthen. If they achieve the second one, which is the second goal, they still have 18 more goals to go. Don't stop giving us conflict. Remember, you're a devil in this story, so you want to stop every of their success. You want the readers to long for that success, but they won't see it because you're there as the obstacle, giving us the conflict because you know your onion. Do you get? So keep giving us conflict. When it's as if everywhere is calm, oh, finally this character has finally gotten admission after hawking bread, after coming from a poor family, he has gotten a scholarship to study. Throw in a conflict. Now what that conflict is going to do, that conflict is going to now bring in more conflict that will lengthen the story. Now imagine the person was supposed to go to school and be studying after getting a scholarship, but when you bring in a conflict, that going to school will stop. We'll not start dealing with that conflict, and inside that conflict another conflict is also there. So before the conflict is done, we are done with those conflicts, the person now decided to go back to school. Your story is already at chapter 100. Do you see how you have written a long story? But when a character wants something, you just give it to the person. You're not helping your character. Even your parents will tell you, you want biscuits, you work for it. After your NYSC, you want something, they will tell you work for it. Do you get? So don't just give your characters everything easily. Don't just give your characters everything easily. Treat your character like a child that is still crawling. The child wants to go and get that biscuit that you kept at the top of the bed. The child has to climb, and while the child is crawling to climb the bed, he falls down several times. Those things are obstacles. Do you get? So please and please add enough conflict. Your readers should be like, what the hell is happening? Can't this story just get a happy ending? Please, the author, please give us a happy ending. Please pity our character. We want to see him succeed. Please, enough of the conflict. Make your readers literally say those things when they are reading your book in their minds. Make your readers be like, please, the author should please pity this character. You've been watching a movie and you'll be like, when a character is about to get poisoned, you start crying, you start feeling emotional. You'll be like, this character should not drink that drink. Please don't drink the drink, it was poisoned. Please don't drink. Make us emotional. Make us emotional, because it's only, I cannot watch a story or read a story that is not emotional. If I don't feel for it, I can't watch it. Simple. Alright, the next point, are you getting value? Please hit on the like button. The next point here is, okay, let me give an illustration of when I mean add conflict. Just add conflict. When I mean just add conflict, let me give an illustration. Just add conflict. There has to be some struggle. Subsequently, there needs to be a motivation to face the struggle. Do you get? There needs to be some level of risks. Then there is a reward after they successfully overcome that obstacle, overcome that monster that poses as a threat to their life. And it has to be meaningful. For example, a character doesn't have enough milk for cereal in the morning. That's a struggle. Not so much of a challenge, but driving to the store is a risk. Maybe the character drives to the store at night to get the words milk for cereals in the morning. That's a risk. And maybe using water instead of milk could be a reward. A cereal breakfast. You get? Now you can raise the stakes that the character needs to get cereals for his or her child. That's a struggle, but he's broke. It's believable and perhaps cliche. This is something that happens in Nigeria and even other countries. Do you get? He's hiding from the cops, but his child is also starving for milk in his cereals in the morning. And he's also hiding from the cops, so how can he get cereals, milk for his child in the morning or for her child in the morning? This can be a struggle. Do you get? Accused of something but is innocent, so she's running for her dear life, but her baby is also there in need of a milk in the morning, but she's being haunted, so she can't go out. Do you get me? So something like that. This is just an illustration I just gave. All right, tip number 6. I think I've gotten to tip number 6. Please, I don't know, I lost count. Tip number 6 in writing a long story. Please, want to go very fast about this. Complicate the plot. I did this in one of my stories, The Rejected Omega, and come and see comments. Complicate the plot. I'm going to dismantle this, so you have to pay attention. I'm going to dismantle this thing. I say complicate the plot. You see this tip number 5, number 6. Complicate your plot. God, look at your outline. Start your very chapter 1 from the middle. If you want to write a long story, start it from the middle. This is a hack nobody will tell you. If you want to write a long story, I repeat, start it from the middle, then the beginning, then the end. By so doing, when you start it from the middle, the readers are still trying to get to know how everything got started in the story, because you didn't start it from the beginning. You started it from the middle. Do you get? Look at your outline. Start from the middle. When you start from the middle, before your readers begin to realize what is happening in the story, they are already almost finishing the story. They're already at chapter maybe 100 and something. Do you get? By the time you start at the middle, they are confused. They don't know what really happened. Then you not take them back to the beginning by using the flashback technique. backstory technique. By so doing, you have established a balance at the mid at the when you now take them back to the beginning. Then by the time they have gotten that balance, you can now end your story subsequently and make all the conflict begin to die off slowly until you finally end your story. What I mean by complicating your plot, this is what I mean. I did this in one of my stories, just like I said before. Do you get? Let's say now a character, both your character and your readers are thinking that this character meant well for this character. Shock us. You need to shock us. Do you get? Shock us. The character and your reader will be like, okay, this bad guy actually is not really a bad guy, or maybe this bad guy is actually a good guy, but this bad guy is being shown to be a bad guy in the story. Something like that. I don't know if you get me. For example, now your readers are like, okay, this character is there to help this character. Twist it and make that character go against the other person without your readers knowing. So by the time they realize, they're already gone past your story. Complicate the plot. Twist it. Confuse your readers. By the time you twist your plot, before they can get the balance, they're almost done with your story. And when you twist the plot, you get to now start having more ideas about more plots to add up to your story to make it more interesting. I will still explain complicating the plot. I wrote down here, I said a simple plot isn't going to take very long to unravel if the male lead or the main character knows what he wants, knows what it takes to get what he wants and achieve his goals as soon as he tries. The story is going to be short. But it should be the opposite. The character knows what it wants, but it should take time for the character achieve it. Main characters usually don't know what they really want. They usually have no ideas how to get it, and they have to fail at least once or twice before they can get what they want. Even in life, human beings fail, so make it relatable. You want to study medicine, you wrote jam the first time, you have to fail at least most people have to fail 1 or 2 times. Those people that are potentials to really study medicine, most of them fail. So implicate that in your story, incorporate that in your story, make your characters fail 1 or 2 times, so it can be relatable, so they will not look as if they are a robot that don't fail, that are so perfect in life. There's no perfect character, so make your characters have flaws so that we can relate with it, because every human being has a flaw. The next tip on my list is tip number 7, I think. Add subplots. Yes, add subplots. I'm going to be explaining this. Many people will say that these are hard to win in sometimes, but subplots can usually be worked out by ways of characters in the story, person's past and why they are in the story. Question the person's past and why they are in the story. Why are they in the story? Add some subplots that are still focused on the main characters, but you're still trying to establish this backstory that will make us that will flesh out the character more and make it real and believable. Do you get? So let me explain what I mean. How did they get to where they are? That's a subplot. By the time you start telling us how the poor man became rich, because you started it with the man becoming a millionaire at the first chapter, he's a billionaire already. So maybe in the middle chapter you cannot tell us backstories of how the man became a millionaire, the hurdles he had to climb, so we can now link it up with the first part of the story to relate with it. Do you get? You could use foreshadowing too. Foreshadowing techniques. Alright, another thing again is you can link characters subplots into the story more neatly than you might think. Do you get? So please incorporate subplots. Do you get? Here are some ideas for subplots. Throw in a friend to the main characters who unconsciously influences the main characters in a bad way. Throw in a friend. Every human being has a friend, so that your friend can be the subplot that when nothing is happening in your story, you can now take your time to do a moment of reflection, to talk about those subplots a little, And make sure if you're talking about them, they're actually pushing the main characters forward. You're not just deviating from the main characters. Do you get? So that's another thing. The friends should betray the main characters. Make their friend betray them, so that you have more things to talk about. The friends should fall in love with the main characters, love interests, and complicate the main characters' feelings. Two lover beds, a friend should come in. By the time a friend come in, the story is going to be lengthened. Your story is going to be length. Imagine you're writing a story and you're running out of ideas. Bring in a friend that will come in, and when that friend come in, let that friend chase after the boyfriend. By so doing, more conflict, more tensions. Who will the boyfriend go for? Who will the boyfriend listen to? Is it the girlfriend or the new friend? So all these things are questions that your readers is going to be asking themselves, that you need to provide them with answers to in other chapters. Do you get? Another thing you could do is, would the love interest, what would their love interest be? Do you understand? And how would they feel about it? All these things, you should take note of it when you are adding your subplots. It's another tip on my list is, if you're enjoying the video, please give it a like and subscribe. All right, another tip on my list is, use different POVs. I see this a lot, and I agree with people that say use POVs. I'm also telling you to use different POVs. If you want to write a long epic story that will be long, very long, use different POVs. You could use first person POV when you want to give us an emotional scene that has to do with a character trying to air out his emotions to make it more emotional. You could use first person POV. Then you could use third person POV when you want to. Third person POV is actually good. It can actually lengthen your story. That's one hack many people don't know, especially newbies. And it's very easy to write. Use third person POV in some chapters. You can also use first person POV in some chapters. Don't just get stuck at first person POV. If you use first person POV in all the chapters, you might run out of ideas, or some things might just be happening and there's no emotions. There is no actually cliffhangers ending each chapters, because you're using first person POV, so everything is just fast paced. There's no moment of reflection. Do you get? So when you're writing long stories, there should be some moments of tensions, reflections, still ending with a cliffhanger. Moments where the character needs to sit down and think, oh wow, am I doing the right thing? Is this a good decision to make? What will be the outcome? Do you get? Don't just give us tension. Coach Victor said you should give tension, so tension all the way. No, there should be some moment of reflections, or else you're going to run out of ideas quickly. Do you get? Some moments you're going to cool down and allow your characters to breathe, to take in the heartbreaks, to take in the tensions they have been experiencing since chapter 1. Don't be that wicked. I know I told you to be wicked, but please use your church mind. Alright, the next tip is your style of writing. Your style of writing has a lot of things to do in the length of your story. It all boils down to showing, not telling. Imagine if you're using telling techniques, you won't even be able to write up to 100k words. But if you're using showing techniques, it will be detailed. By the time you use one paragraph to show how a character is feeling, I'm not saying you should do it overly. No. By the time you use one paragraph to explain how a character is feeling, how the face is, how the muscles are, how the bones are twitching, how the ear raised, how the jaw dropped at a surprise, how the person clenched his fist, all these things, if you explain it well by showing us, not telling. Remember I said that in my first video, show, not tell. This will help lengthen your story also. Do you get? And it will also make it more relatable, because every human being will not just be doing call and response conversation. If I see a person, I'll run. Me and you having a conversation now, I tell you, how are you? You said fine. How was your day? It was good. I will run for my life. You're not a human being. There should be a moment of you taking in the question, your face. I need to feel how your face is. Don't tell us that it's a story, it's not a film. So why do my characters care about how the character's face is? Why do my readers care about how the character's face is? They care because they want to feel for them. So make them care. When you talk about what's happening in the story, use some paragraphs to tell us how the character is feeling. The character is angry. Don't just say he was angry. Tell us how the character is feeling. Use enough paragraph to explain it, to describe your character. The battle is raging. Tell us how each and every object in the battlefield, how the trees, how the thunder cracked the sky, how the earth is against himself, how the lightning of the thunder, the brusquely wind of the howled outside, and all the explain them. By so doing, you're lengthening your story unknowingly to you. All right, so I believe this is just these are juicy tips I'm releasing. These are so juicy tips. I told you, value go choke, value choke, it choke, it pour. So if you have not subscribed, you see what you're missing. Just one video, see the value. Are you seeing the value? So it's left for you to it's left for you to decide if you're going to subscribe or you're going to keep gatekeeping. I think that's the right word. I don't gatekeep. So if you're those people spying on my YouTube channel that don't subscribe, continue, keep spying. You spy and spy till the day you come and you cannot find me again. That's when you rest and join the family. Another thing again is use foreshadowing techniques, guys. I've told you, use backstories, use flashbacks, use foreshadowing techniques. There's a movie that actually hits 20 million views on YouTube. It's a Nigerian movie. I think the name is A Treasure in the Sky. A Treasure in the Sky. At the beginning of that movie is I think you know this popular Nigerian actress Chine. At the beginning of that movie, you will notice something, that they talked about a bucket list. When I first of all started watching that movie and I saw the first scene, students gathered and they were looking at someone that wrote a bucket list for somebody without putting his or her name. That's a foreshadowing technique. So now when your readers look at that, or your viewers look at that particular scene, they'll be like, what's a bucket list doing here in the first scene? They will look, that will sink into their head. They watch out to put 2 to 2 in other scenes and other chapters. Okay, bucket list in chapter 1 doesn't mean the writer is trying to convey something to us, or trying to hide something to us to keep reading so we can find out later and connect the dots and put 2 to 2. Okay, I guess that's what the writer is about to do. Let me stick to the end. Let me keep reading. This foreshadowing technique is entering bucket list. I want to stick to the end. Now it's at the end of that movie that we now found out that that bucket list is for the male lead in that movie, which happens to be a popular actor, Clinton. Now in that bucket list, you found out that Clinton wrote that bucket list and he said he's going to do those things inside the bucket list before he died. Do you get? Now it was at the end of the film that we were not able to connect the end from the beginning. Do you see it now with foreshadowing techniques? That is where that bucket list now made sense. That is foreshadowing technique. Foreshadowing techniques is you putting something or reviewing something that your readers watch out for as the story progresses. That alone will make them stick to your story. They'll be like, they want to connect with the first scene. Why was that first scene like that? You leave them clueless. Suspense is suspenseful, so they want to stick to the end, and by so doing, with that foreshadowing technique, you'll be able to come up with more conflicts to push the story forward. So please incorporate foreshadowing techniques when you're writing. Do you get? So make sure that you use foreshadowing techniques. I wrote something down here. Let me read it down. I wrote something. I said, where did I write that? I say use foreshadowing and hints to build tension and intrigue your readers. Do you get? To build tension. Let's say someone had, imagine you're watching a horror movie and the first scene, a baby was the life, or the life of a baby was snatched from the baby by a monstrous figure, and they just fade out that scene. That can be a kind of foreshadowing that we are going to watch out for. Okay, there's a baby in the picture. Who is this baby? Who is this monster? And why did he snatch the baby's throat? All these questions will keep us to your story and make us glued and keep reading. By so doing, you know your techniques. More foreshadowing, more length of your story. The more the length of your story increases. Do you get? So incorporate foreshadowing technique. So if you got value, kindly hit on the red subscribe button. Turn on post notifications so you can get a lot of my videos when I upload them. See you in my next video.